My name is Alida Sharp, and I'm with the Belize Powerlifting Association. The purpose of this video is to talk about the roles and responsibilities of a referee. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for volunteering to help us out with the upcoming national competition. There are going to be several parts to this video. I will talk about squats, bench, and deadlift, and also go over the roles and responsibilities of a head referee and of a side referee. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's talk about reasons for disqualification on the squat. The very first one would be not observing the referee's commands. On the squat, there are two commands. The first one is squat. The second one is rack. If the lifter jumps either one of these commands, that is an automatic disqualification on the lift. The next would be double bouncing or any type of downward movement after they've already started to come back up. That's also a failure on the lift. Stepping backwards, forwards, moving the feet side to side, those would also be reasons to disqualify the lift. Now, if the foot kind of goes back and forth like this, that's not a disqualification. They can't step to the front, step to the back, or step to the side. We always want to see that the lifter is in full control of their body and of the weight whenever they are in the process of or at the completion of a lift. Failure to bend the knees and lower the body until the top surface of the legs at the hip joint is lower than the top of the knees. And I'll show a picture of this so that you can see what depth looks like. Depth is going to look a little bit different on everybody, but we do want to make sure that each lifter breaks parallel. That hip crease needs to go lower than the top surface of the knee. As a referee, the easiest way to watch for this is when you see the lifter do their walkout. Identify where the hip crease is and follow that down and up. That should give you an accurate assessment of whether or not that lifter has hit depth. Another reason for disqualification on the squat would be if the spotters come in contact with the bar so as to make the lift easier for the lifter. It's not an automatic disqualification if they touch the bar. It's if the spotters have tried to make it easier for the lifter to do their job, okay? Contact with the elbows or the upper part of the arms onto the leg. That's only a disqualification if it looks like that movement has helped make the lift easier. Slight contact of the elbow or the arm to the legs is allowed. Another reason for disqualification would be any dropping or dumping of the bar after the completion of the lift. We do understand that accidents happen, but if there is an intentional dumping of the bar, that is an automatic disqualification. And at some meets, that can actually get you kicked out of the competition because that's dangerous for the lifter and for the spotters as well. Okay. If you're serving as the center referee, then you will be the one making the commands. On the squat, there are two commands, squat and rack. Each command is accompanied by a hand signal. So you would have your hand up and you would lower your hand and say squat at the same time. And again, on the rack command, you're going to have your hand in front of you and pull it towards you and say rack at the same time. So squat, rack. Those are the two commands for the head referee. If you're a side referee, as soon as the lifter's name is called and they've come to the bar, you want to raise your hand and watch for signs that the lifter is ready to begin their lift. When you see that on your side, that the lifter is ready, lower your hand so the center referee knows that they can give the squat command. So let's go over reasons for failure on the bench press. The bench press is a lot more technical than the other two lifts, and there are going to be some things that you're going to watch for as a side referee and some things that you're going to watch for as the center referee. And remember, it takes all three referees working together because each person is in a unique vantage point to see things that the other referees may not see. That's why there's three of you. So let's talk about the reasons for failure on the bench press, okay? Just like with a squat, any jumping of the commands would be a failure on the lift. There are three commands for the bench press: start, press, rack. So if they start before the start command, press before the press command, or re-rack before the rack command, those would be reasons for failure on the lift. The head, the butt, and the shoulders all need to remain in contact with the bench. If there is a movement off of the bench in any one of those three areas, then those would also be failure on the lift. For the lifter's hands, they do have to be wrapped around. The thumb does need to come around the bar. And once the referee's commands have started, the hands cannot change position, so it cannot move to the side. For the lifter's feet, the feet need to be on the floor. They cannot come in contact with the bench at any point in the lift. There can be some slight movement of the foot, but it just cannot raise up off of the floor. Once the lifter has brought the bar down to the chest, there cannot be any further downward movement once the press command has been given. So no heaving back into the chest to bring it back up, okay? So it's okay if the bar sinks into the chest, it just can't go down again once the press command has been given, okay? That would be a reason for failure on the lift. We want to make sure that the top of the shoulder joint is observed by the head referee when that lifter comes out, so that you know when they get into that pressed position that the elbow has gone equal to or just slightly below that top of the shoulder joint. That's going to be one of those things that the head referee might see a little more clearly than a side referee might see. That's why there's three of you, okay? So there, like I said before, there are certain vantage points that each referee is going to have. So just make sure that you're aware of that. Not every lifter is symmetrical, so both shoulders may not be perfectly parallel. What's important is that the respective elbow joint and respective shoulder joint are lined up or just a little bit below. The elbow can come below, but it does need to at least reach parallel to that shoulder joint, okay? And it might look a little different on each side. Once the press command has been given, there can only be upward movement, and we want to see the lifter reach a locked out position with the elbows before the rack command is given. So we want to see the lockout. We also want to see control. That's important at every stage of the lift, that the lifter is in control of the weight at all times. So before the rack command is given, you want to see that lockout, and then you can give the rack command. Okay, if you are the center referee, there are three commands on the bench press: start, press, rack. That start command, you're starting with your hand in the air, bring your hand down and give the start command at the same time. For the press command, your hand is in the downward position and you're saying press and raising your hand at the same time. Once your hand is up, then when you give the rack command, you're bringing it towards you, just like you did with the squat. And that rack command as well, it's just the movement towards you. So Start, press, rack. If you're in that side position as a referee for the bench press, you do want to make sure that you begin with your hand up in the air so that you can give a signal to the center referee when you see that athlete is ready to start. And you're just simply lowering your hand after you see their head, their butt, their shoulders, and their feet in position, ready to begin. We don't want to have too much wiggling around at the top. So you want to see control, and you want to see the body be in full position, and then lower your hand so that the center referee knows that everything is good on your side and they can go ahead and give that start command. Reasons for disqualification on the deadlift. The deadlift is possibly one of the most exciting events. It's the last one. Everybody's ready to be done. So the judges, you referees, you may be tired at this point, but just hang in there. We are almost done. And we want to see just a great meet for all of the athletes. So let's give them our full attention, and let's continue to do our best with refereeing this event. Okay? The deadlift, it doesn't start with any commands. There is only one command on the deadlift, and that is down. Only the center referee needs to worry about having their arm raised. Like I said, the deadlift can be very, very exciting. And so the lifter may not hear that down command. So it's important that the center referee have their hand raised and bring it down as you say the word down, so that the lifter can see that it's time for them to go to the bottom part of the lift. Okay? Their feet need to stay in position. It's okay if the lifter's foot rocks back and forth, just like on the squat. There may be a slight rocking back and forth while they're in the course of the lift, but they cannot move forward. They can't move back with their feet, and the feet can't move from side to side. Okay? Once the lifter has started their lift, you can pull some slack out of the bar, but if those plates come off the ground, then the lift has started. Okay? That counts as their attempt. So once the weight is coming off the ground, it can only go up until the lifter reaches that final position. If the bar kind of settles in as the shoulders come back, that's not a reason for disqualification on the deadlift, okay? We want to make sure that as the bar comes up the thighs, that it doesn't look like the thighs have helped, that they're raising the bar with the use of the thighs, okay? So there's no ramping or hitching the bar all the way up. They might slow down at that point, because for some lifters, it's that final position that's the more difficult. For some lifters, it's coming off the floor. For other lifters, it's that final position. So if the lifter is being patient and slowly taking their time, getting to that upright position fully locked out, there is no reason for disqualification on that. They have the right to be patient and take their time reaching that final position. Okay? So once the center referee sees that the lifter has reached that final locked out position where the knees are locked out and the shoulders are back and the lifter is in full control of the weight, they can give that down command. And as the bar is coming down, the lifter needs to keep their hands on the bar at all times. No deliberate dropping of the bar is allowed, okay? That would be a reason for disqualification on the lift. So once the down command happens, we still want to see that control with the hands remaining on the bar until the plates are on the floor, okay? That's the deadlift.